India-China border standoff. According to sources, the National Security Advisor of India, Ajit Doval, held talks with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang, and both the sides have agreed to the restoration of peace at the border. The representatives of both the nations had an in-depth exchange of views over a virtual meet. The latest sources say that both India and China have agreed to not take any unilateral action to harm the border peace. The diplomatic and military officials will continue to hold talks and ensure stepwise de-escalation. Earlier, we had learned that the Chinese troops have pulled back from the site of June the 15th violent clashes with the Indian Army at Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh. Remember, WION broke this story first. According to sources, the senior army officials from the Indian side confirmed that a physical verification had also been conducted to ascertain the Chinese pullback. Temporary structures are being removed by both sides. Indian Army sources reveal that Chinese heavy armoured vehicles are still present in the depth areas in Galwan River and that the Indian side will continue to monitor the situation with caution. Remember, last month, WION broke the news that India and China had begun disengagement at 3 flashpoints along the line of actual control. The disengagement happened after military-level talks between the two sides. Sources told WION that the situation will be verified on the ground over a period of time. Relations between New Delhi and Beijing hit rock bottom after clashes between Indian and Chinese troops on the 15th of June. Now, the face-off resulted in casualties on both sides. Even that clash on the 15th of June happened after Indian troops went to forward locations to check whether China had pulled back after agreeing to do the same at the military-level talks. Indian forces discovered that China had not kept its word, and clashes broke out in the resulting standoff, resulting in 20 Indian casualties and more than 35 Chinese casualties, according to American intel reports. The pullback by Chinese troops now at Galwan Valley is a result of intense diplomatic and military engagement and contacts in the past 48 hours. These meetings followed Prime Minister Modi's visit to Leh, which were decisive and firm message was sent out. Now, sources add that India's responsible stance and message at the LAC has been globally recognized, and those invested in India-China relationship in Beijing are also of the opinion that the present standoff should be resolved. India has sent out a decisive message that national security is paramount and that New Delhi is not prepared to compromise on national security. Remember, China had earlier changed its own position on the LAC and had claimed sovereignty of the entire Galwan Valley. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs had rejected Chinese claims, calling them untenable. Now, Indian side will continue to maintain vigilance and verify Chinese pullback over a period of time. China has confirmed the drawback, saying that it is taking steps to disengage and de-escalate.
Chinese and Indian troops on June the 30th held a commander-level talks. The two sides continue to work to implement consensus reached at the 2 previous round of talks. There's progress made on frontline troops taking effective measures to disengage and ease the tensions.
Meanwhile, India has almost 30,000 additional troops at forward locations along the line of actual control in Ladakh. Indian Army is now going to place an emergency order for extreme cold weather tents for the soldiers along the border. The Army is also going to Excalibur ammunition for its ultralight howitzers and several other types of high-end equipment from Russia and other global suppliers. NSA Doval took up parleys with his counterpart, China's State Councilor Wang, to diffuse tensions on the line of actual control. Both of them have important positions, and Ajit Doval is the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister of India. He's also the special representative to China on the boundary issue. Doval holds the rank of the Cabinet Minister and reports directly to the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Ajit Doval also served as the Director of Intelligence Bureau in 2004 to 2005. On the other hand, Wang holds two important portfolios. He is both the State Councilor as well as the Foreign Affairs Minister of China. He is also Beijing's Special Representative to India. His specialty aimed at promoting China's foreign affairs policies in Asia. He was appointed as the Foreign Affairs Minister in 2013, prior to which he became a member of the CCP in 2012. Now, WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Sudan Sybil, is joining us live for the latest on this. Good evening to you, Sudan. The latest sources say that both India and China have agreed to not take any unilateral action to harm the border peace.
Well, yes, Alison, today is an important day when it comes to India-China relationship. Perhaps one of the most important days this year, given the fact that how relationship between the two countries have seen a lot of tensions. But there is good news and there is a cautious news. Talking about the good news, which we all know now, that disengagement has started. It is the first step regarding disengagement that has taken place. So there are many more steps. This is the beginning. And of course, we know that WION was the first channel to break this 10 days ago. So there are 3 points. Galwan Valley, where the incident happened last month on 15th. Then, of course, Hot Springs and Gogra area, where disengagement has started. Specifically talking about the Galwan Valley, the movement of the Chinese troops has been seen. They have moved 1 to 2 kilometers. When WION reported, the movement was just around 500 meters. And also the infamous tent that satellites have been showing, that have been removed according to the government sources here in New Delhi. So that is the good news. The cautious news is how India deals with the Chinese, given the fact that this is not the first time that disengagement or reports of disengagement have emerged. There were 3 rounds of talks in the month of June last month. That is first on 6th, then on 22nd, then on 30th. After the 6th June talks, we know there were reports of disengagement, and indeed the government sources confirmed the disengagement here in Delhi, and of course in Beijing also. The MOFA reacted saying that there is disengagement, but we saw something else. We saw the Chinese side unilaterally going against their commitment, and then of course the violent face-off happened on 15th, in which India lost 20 of its soldiers. Though the Chinese side also lost soldiers, they have been mum about it, given the fact that they deal in a very opaque manner. So there is a cautiousness, there is a sense of mistrust, and for that a lot of things need to be required by the Chinese. Of course, we also know that NSA and of course the Chinese foreign minister spoke to each other under a mechanism. This mechanism is called as SR level mechanism, or senior representative level mechanism on border dispute. The fact that India and China both activated 2 important mechanisms in just last 2 weeks. One, of course, the SR level mechanism, other the border mechanism, in which the foreign minister of India, of course the foreign minister spoke, but the JS in East Asia department of the MEA and his counterparts spoke to each other through video conference, shows the delicacy of the situation, how delicate the situation was on the ground. So, of course, there is cautiousness, but of course the silver lining is that disengagement has started, but you never know how the Chinese might react or do something in future, given the fact that how the Chinese have been very aggressive in past few weeks and months, not only just with India, but with other of its neighbors. It's a whole host of lists. Even in fact, we know that over the weekend, the Chinese seem to have created a new dispute with the Bhutanese as well.
Right. Thank you very much for that report, Sudan.